Hello beautiful people, welcome to the channel. The Witchy Goth here, hope you're doing well. Today's video, I really didn't want to discuss this any further, but unfortunately I have to. All to do with the riots and protests that are going on outside of the migrant hotels, the asylum seeker hotels, and how the slogan "Protect Our Women and Girls" is actually harming our women and girls. I spoke about this in a video that I released last week, and I had quite a lot of vitriol from some people watching it. And I think that a lot of it is misunderstood, and that a lot of men, not all men, don't want to admit that there are bad factions within the white British male community. So End Violence Against Women and Girls wrote a letter to the government on August the 19th, 2025. I'm going to read out the letter to you. It's quite a lengthy letter, but this letter highlights how the rhetoric that is out there at the moment, that it is only migrants that commit these atrocities against women and girls, is false and is harming the safety of women and girls against the violence that is actually committed by white British men. So I'll read through this article. The End Violence Against Women Coalition is one of more than 100 women's rights groups that have today, 19th of August 25, written a joint letter to the Prime Minister calling for urgent action against the weaponisation of violence against women and girls by far-right groups and mainstream politicians to further a racist, anti-migrant agenda. Coordinated by the End Violence Against Women Coalition, Women for Refugee Women, Hibiscus and Southall Black Sisters, the statement is supported by expert organisations including IMCAN, Latin American Women's Rights Service, Rape Crisis England and Wales, Refuge and the Susie Lampow Trust. The statement was also signed in solidarity by 98 groups, including unions, refugee and migrant support groups and universities. It says, "In the last weeks, we have seen how vital conversations about violence against women and girls, VAWG, which I'm going to be using from now on, it just cuts down the actual wording, are being hijacked by an anti-migrant agenda that fuels division, harms survivors and ultimately impedes the real work of tackling the root causes of society-wide violence to the detriment of women and girls. We write as organisations on the front lines of combating VAWG to urge the government to address this dangerous narrative. We condemn all acts of violence against women and girls and the immense harm which such acts cause to individuals and communities. The facts about violence against women and girls in the UK are stark. 1. Almost 1 in 3 women will experience domestic abuse, and sexual offences are at the highest level recorded. 2. 1 woman every 4 days in the UK is unalived by a partner or ex-partner. 3. More than 90% of perpetrators of grape and SA are known to the victims. 4. 1 in 2 grapes against women are carried out by a partner or ex-partner. 5. 1 in 3 adult survivors of grape experience it in their own home. 6. Women who can't access public funds such as welfare support or housing assistance due to no recourse to public funds conditions are 3 times more likely to experience violence against women and girls. 6 points. We have been alarmed in recent weeks by an increase in unfounded claims made by people in power and repeated in the media that hold particular groups as primarily responsible for SV. This not only undermines genuine concerns about women's safety, but also reinforces the damaging myth that the greatest risk of gender-based violence comes from strangers. And as we can clearly see, it does not. It is generally from our partners, ex-partners, people we know in our own homes. Every act of VAWG is a form of injustice. It is an injustice that violence against women and girls is carried out in our workplaces, in our schools, in our streets, and most commonly in our homes. It is an uncomfortable reality that it is committed in every economic group, ethnicity, age, and social group, and overwhelmingly by the men who are in women and girls' lives. VAWG is also perpetrated by people who moved to the UK, but the racist idea that this is solely an imported problem flies in the face of women and girls' daily experiences in the UK. And men out there who are white British, please have a look at the statistics. I'm going to put the links to all of this into the description box below. But it is vital that you understand these statistics in order to combat this. It's not just a migrant issue. It is a real, lived, everyday issue. And a vast majority of women that I know, and I'm going to say probably 2,000 of them, this is around the world, have been subject to violence against them. So this myth that it doesn't happen, that women are making things up, that it's false accusations, it's not. It's not at all. These horrifying facts must be addressed with sustainable investment in prevention and support services, and by removing state-imposed barriers to support for survivors. Instead, the issue is being hijacked by people seeking to use women and girls' pain and trauma and the threat of it for political gain. Now, I do not know the outcome of the case that is ongoing at the moment with the alleged perpetrator who was from the migrant hotel in Epping, and the young girl who he allegedly perpetrated against. I cannot comment on that. It is an ongoing case, and I hope that if he is found guilty, that swift action will be taken. Now, one thing that I have heard in many videos, that I've been following this very closely, I don't want to because I don't like the racial aspect of it, but I see my role as being one of educating men, women, girls and boys out there that rape and violence against women and girls is not only perpetrated by those on the street that we don't know, that it is more than likely perpetrated within your own home. And a lot of these men have been saying they would like to unalive those perpetrators, that they want to have them noosed, that they, want to take that action. Now, I want to say this, that in my opinion, and this is my opinion, that every man who commits that kind of crime should be jailed for life. So, because I know that they are going to go on and do it again to the next woman. Not only do these falsehoods fail to keep women safe, they serve as a racist distraction that actively impedes the urgent work of addressing gender-based violence. Myths and misconceptions about SV act as a barrier to justice for survivors. And that's it. One of the myths is that it is strangers, or it is rape that is committed by a serial offender. It's not. It really is not. Those are very few and far between. Spreading an inaccurate picture of VAWG in the UK allows the people, overwhelmingly men from all walks of life, who harm women and girls to hide behind racial stereotypes and scapegoating. Meanwhile, hostile immigration policies propped up by this misinformation put many of the most marginalised women and survivors in the UK racialized migrant, refugee and asylum-seeking women at even greater risk of harm, destitution, homelessness, exploitation and criminalisation. And I want to remind everybody that about the article that I spoke about recently, the one in the Manchester Evening News about the young girl that was walking home through the city centre, and there were some lads putting up flags on the lampposts, and they verbally harassed her. Yet, your aim as British men, as white British men, is to stop that kind of thing from happening. And yet, they were the perpetrators. People were arrested regarding that. Again, I don't know what's happening with it. I will keep my eye on it, and hopefully those people will receive the correct judgment. The government has pledged to halve violence against women and girls. This is a challenging but achievable ambition, but it cannot be done while lies about its causes and endorsed by those in the highest positions of power. Yes, Farage. Yes, Tommy 10 Names. And yes, the far-right activists that are out there spreading these falsehoods. I'm going to do a separate video on that. Parliament and the media as well, and allowed to spread unchecked. We urge the government to show leadership in responding to the weaponisation of VAWG, including changing its framing of migration, promoting an accurate picture of violence against women and girls, and holding those who spread misinformation to account. And that needs to happen. That really, really needs to happen. Because people like Farage and Tate and Tommy 10 Names will point fingers at those of a different skin colour to further their own agenda. And this shows me that they don't really care about the women and girls in this country. Coming back to where I was here. We urge the government to show leadership in responding to the weaponisation of VAWG, including changing its framing of migration, promoting an accurate picture. Okay, I've already said that. I do apologise. We cannot afford for this agenda to drive further attacks on migrant communities or harm efforts to develop a coherent, effective strategy to address the real causes of gender-based violence. All women and girls deserve for us to face and confront the reality of violence against women and girls so that we can pave the way in ending it. Guys, a lot of women who flee to the United Kingdom are fleeing from countries where FGM is practiced, where forced and arranged marriages are practiced, where young girls as young as 12 are forced to marry. Andrea Simon, director of the End Violence Against Women Coalition, said, "The far right has long exploited the cause of ending violence against women and girls to promote a racist, white supremacist agenda. These attacks against migrant and racialized communities are appalling and do nothing to improve women and girls' autonomy, rights and freedoms. What's more, they ignore the reality that most violence against women and girls is perpetrated by somebody known to them." The fight to end gender-based violence and uphold migrant rights are connected, as they rely on a world in which everyone's human rights are respected. Political leaders must change course and play a positive role in working to build a better world for all. Dr. Baljit Banga, CEO of Hibiscus, said, "Violence against women and girls is a social issue that requires urgent government action. The far right's weaponisation of VAWG undermines efforts to safeguard victims and survivors, moreover targeting black, minoritised and migrant communities by distorting public debate and misinterpreting data only serves to exacerbate racial and social inequalities to the detriment of women experiencing violence. This joint statement urges decision makers to reject divisive rhetoric and adopt an intersectional human rights approach to ending violence against women and girls. We refuse to let women's safety be turned into hate speech. And that is what it's becoming. It's becoming a weapon. It's being weaponized by the far right. And there's some interesting information here. So I would like, if you can, some of you to continue listening. Andrea Vukovic, co-director of Women for Refugee Women, said, "The growing anti-migrant agenda pushed by those claiming to act for the safety of women does not protect women. It frightens them. In recent weeks, the women we support who have fled war and persecution in search of safety have been too afraid to leave their homes due to attacks on migrant and racialised communities." And I completely understand that, because I know that if I saw a group within my area doing something like that, I would turn around and come back home. Unfounded claims that blame particular groups for sexual violence fuel division while reinforcing the dangerous myth that gender-based violence comes from strangers. This narrative silences the lived reality of women and girls who are most often harmed by men they know. If the government is serious about its pledge to have violence against women and girls, violence against women and girls, it must crack down on misinformation and tackle the root causes of gender-based violence. One of the root causes of gender-based violence? Poverty. Lack of education. But poverty is a huge factor in the occurrence of that kind of violence. Selma Tahar, Executive Director of Southall Black Sisters, said, "Violence against women and girls demands an urgent system-wide response that removes barriers to safety and secures long-term investment in specialist support services. Attempts to weaponise VAWG through racist scapegoating of migrants not only distract from real solutions, but also deepen the marginalisation of black, minoritised and migrant victim survivors. The government, our public institutions and the media must take responsibility for shaping an accurate, evidence-based narrative on immigration and must end the normalisation of far-right misinformation in debates on immigration and VAWG. As frontline organisations working to end VAWG, we stand united in saying not in our name." Now, a lot of the perpetrators, the rioters, are recognised as those who have previous for DV, SA, SV and GRAPE. And to me, and I've said this before, it feels as if they are trying to justify their own actions against the women and girls in their life by scapegoating other people. Now, yes, not everybody who is a migrant is a good person, but the majority are. Just like you will say the majority of white British men are. Unfortunately, there is a group, 1 in 4, that let the side down. It is time for men to accept the fact that their friends, their relatives, are committing these kind of criminal offences and to call it out when and if they see it. And I know a lot will stand up and say, "Oh no, it's fake, she's lying, it didn't happen," and so on. But why don't we start believing the victim? Because, as I say, in my experience, I actually cannot think of one woman in my life who I know that has not experienced some form of SA, DV, SV or GRAPE. And I have a very, very, very big community of friends in my life. So please, if you are on the right, if you are wanting to protect women and girls in the United Kingdom, start at home. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. I really would like to reach 800 subscribers by the end of the year. I would love to reach 1,000 subscribers because I really would like to monetize the channel. If you would like to make a donation towards the channel and what I do, please go to the link in the description box below for my GoFundMe Buy Me a Coffee page. Blessed be.